intros. This is our first show of 2023. Well, no, it's not our first show. It's a bonus episode. We had a bonus episode, which we can talk about a little later. But just to kick it off, my name is Raynell, and I am recording from Tulsa, Oklahoma today.
And my name is Queen, and I am recording from Dallas, Texas. Welcome, Black. Welcome, Black. Welcome, Black.
You know, the same recording. I'm like, I don't want to say recording because I still want it to be like about me and you having these conversations, and not be like. I think that sometimes the pressure can come from like we're recording for like a wide audience, but when we like have these authentic conversations, which I feel like when me and you were just talking, those are like the best conversations, you know, when we're just like a dialogue between me and you. And so
yes,
really what I want to do today.
Just opening up space. There are flies on the wall watching her.
Yeah, definitely. But can I ask you a question to start us off though? Did you for yourself? Did you say
Did I what?
You said who you were, definitely, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I asked you a question. You saw the question. We asked it on our social media, but to start us off, I want to know if you didn't know your birth year, what age would you be?
I think I would be 24, just based off of like my energy, the type of things that I like. I don't feel 33 at all. Mm-hmm. So I would take 24 every day. What about you?
I would say 21. I said 21. I think I said 25. I feel like I stopped at 25, but this year, 2022, I would even look at myself in pictures. I would like even gauge my energy, and it was like very like giddy and young. I remember this guy I dated too. Even he really enjoyed me eating. He felt like I ate, like I really showed my age when I would like get excited about eating. And it was like this childlike, probably like a fat kid eating cake type energy I would give him.
I love it.
So he would just be like, there's like a childlike energy about you. And for me, 2022, I really felt young. And I think that had a lot to do with kind of, we can talk about 2022, but like, I think just like the way I was taking up space, the way I was like learning more about myself. I think something about like that freedom that I was like allowing myself to have. I think when you lean more into freedom, that is what probably like takes us out of this is a mature way to live, a mature way to be. And when we are like leaning more into freedom, we begin to feel younger. So, and then like behave, you know, but not that we're immature, but as far as I think that when we think about age, I think there's like the innocence and the giddiness, the joy. For me, that's what makes me think of like age.
Yeah.
And just like things, like you say, the things that you're interested in, that you want to do. Somebody said optimism. Yes, optimism. And then even the stuff that I talk to people about, and then I'll be like, random things I'll say, and then they'll be like looking at me, and I'm like, I probably shouldn't have said that, but I don't know. It's just like, I think it's just like that childlike, like you want to discuss something that's really random. I don't know. But something you said, because some people answered and said, some people was like 29. Ebony said, it would be interesting to know what factors people would use to determine this answer. Mm-hmm. And so you said things that you're interested in makes you 24, you said. Tell me what you mean by that.
Yeah, well, so, you know, I'm still an adult. So I wanted to stay in the 20s, but I'm just like so youthful. So, you know, I'm down to go to Six Flags, which is clearly like a teenage thing, but you know, I think it's just my openness and the optimism that I do have. So I base it off of energy and just the things that I would say are more related to children, like amusement parks, which is things that I love. just having fun coloring as an artist, things that everybody would deem childish are like my jam.
Yeah.
So I just say 24 because I don't want to be too young, but I'm not trying to be too old. So I just threw out 24. I don't know. I felt like it was like a good mature age. I felt 21 was just too young.
Yeah, it is. And 25, I say 25 because 25 for me was a good age. And for me, I was like, I could just stay here. I could just camp out at 25. 25 is pretty cool to me.
I love it here.
Yeah, I love it here. Yeah, yesterday I was at Trader Joe's and I saw someone I used to manage, and she said, I'm like, what have you been up to? And she said, work. And I was like, okay. She's like, that's all we can do. And I started to go along and I was like, yeah, that's all we can do, work, da da da. And then I was like, but I said, what do you mean? And then I asked her, I said, what do you mean actually by like us that's all we can do? You mean adults? She's like, yeah, like as adults, what else can you do? Basically. And I was like, well, I mean, it's true, we gotta like, be responsible, take care of, our responsibilities. But at the same time, I said, personally, I try to invite like as much lightheartedness, and playfulness and, not being so serious and then finding the lighter moments and, enjoying myself so that, I won't fall into that work. That's all we can do. I think that's a lot of.
Come on, mindset.
Yeah, and so I said, and I hope that kind of stuck with her because I never want that to be a reality, and I hate that that's what I feel like 2023, 2022, we're starting to realize that work has to be our lives. Our life is more than work.
Absolutely.
I probably went the opposite way and ain't been working, so but it's just like no work at all. But that's a different topic for a different.
You're working on yourself, okay? That's work.
Because I think for me it's like and we'll talk about this. It's like I want to do things I want to do. If it makes money, it makes money. If it don't, it don't. Like that's kind of where I'm at. But obviously, we live in what we're finding out is capitalist society, and we have to make money. And anyways. That I said 21. I don't know. And you said 24.
I said 24, yeah. I mean, but like I said, I could fluctuate anywhere between 21 and 24, 25.
Yeah.
But past 25, I don't feel it.
Yeah. Somebody said my soul says 24, but my body says 42.
I felt that. But you know what? Ever since our event, and we'll speak on that, but ever since our event, I've been doing my yoga stretches. And when I tell you, we might need to bring it down to 18 because I don't feel as stiff. Like, I really feel like
you loosen it up.
Yeah. I feel like let's get it. I love being able to incorporate, just a 10-minute stretch in the morning.
Yeah, and that's good. I love that, like thinking about it, and like I think on the call you like I've practiced yoga maybe 1 or 2 times, and it's like I think you're using an example, but if it's something that you want to do, whatever it is that you want to do, starting small. I think sometimes we'd be like, I gotta go an hour, I gotta do this for an hour, and then we don't do it, and then we just don't do it. So we risk not doing it. So it's like starting small, I think is good. So
that's real. That's so real. I used to overthink it. When I did go to those 2 yoga sessions, it was about an hour long. It was super intense. It was just like not necessarily something that I really could see myself incorporating into my life. But after our session, I'm like, dude, I'm doing this from a laptop right now. I could do it. And so ever since then, I've been going on to YouTube on my television screen, finding 8-minute videos. So thank you for that.
No problem. And it should never be so intense to where it's like intimidating. I think that, obviously there's levels and people are practicing on different levels, but it should always be about a practice. And whether my practice is 10 minutes long or an hour long, all of it's valid.
Yes. I remember my second yoga session, he had us doing back bends. And I knew from that time on, I'm like, oh, yoga's not for me.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, back bend? I've done that since I was like 5.
Oh no,
It
yeah.
was embarrassing too. I ain't gonna lie. It was like 20 people in the room. And I'm like, sir, I can't do this. He was like, I got you. So he did help, but I felt like it was just too much for a beginner. But
Yeah. He did come and assist, which I do appreciate the assist. I think that there's so much power in and of that itself, like when we allow people to assist. But yeah, I get it. It could be very intimidating.
it
But
was
anyways,
baby steps. But so, I mean, it's a new year. So we got a lot to talk about. We both just celebrated birthdays.
we did.
Shout out to Sad Season that just passed.
Yeah, we celebrate birthdays. 2022. I've been hearing people talk about how it was somebody just on the last call. They were like, it was a long year. It seemed like it wouldn't end. But 2022 was a favorite, one of my favorite years. I'm gonna just say it was a great year. I actually didn't want it to end. And I think I don't need to think about time in that way of like 2022 is over, therefore all the energy and great things that happened
Yeah.
2022 in the past. Like it literally was a few weeks ago. Like I don't have to think about it that way. But I think that's how they set us up to think about like this calendar, that chapter's closed. And it's like, no, I'm still
It's getting better, bro.
It's just getting better. But I mean, for me, 2022, it was a great year because it was a year. Obviously, I was in Ghana. I moved there in 2020, at the end of 2021, in December, Thanksgiving Day.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for me, 2022 was about like taking up space in ways that usually I would like fear wouldn't allow me to take up space and try new things. And that really like travel, I think inspires me, inspires people in general. And so that was a big part of it. Like being in a new place is invigorating. And I wouldn't say Ghana is not for everybody, anybody. So it was a little like it was not the easiest place to like transition to and live. I didn't mean it wasn't the easiest place to just be. In the beginning, there was some growing and learning pains. I'm gonna just say that. But for me, it was like I said, lots of lessons in the beginning. And then it wasn't until I kind of really embraced this idea of taking up space. I lost my train of thought.
Don't worry, I get you though. I mean, I was in a whole different state last year too. So I think we both kind of experienced a lot of our own personal growth and how strong we really are. That's what I can say.
Inner power, yes, that's what it is. Thank you for bringing me on. For me, because we talked about this during, which we'll talk about later. How many times we're going to say that? But we talked about that in our call on our intentionally 2023. It's like realizing that inner power, and I think about 2022 was a year I realized like my inner power just to be able to do things that I want to do. Like we always have these ideas, you know. And so I think that also, like I said, Ghana's not easy. If realizing that I can survive Ghana, I can live in Ghana, I have, the strength of what it takes to maneuver and learn. And, I'm not, even though 2022 was like a great year, like I said, it did come with mental health battles, it did challenges, it did come with heartaches. It did come with lessons. That's not to say that those like basically all that stuff can exist of like hard times and in great times, and so you said that, and I actually have it written down when I was reflecting on 2022 of like I wrote down things that I was able to do. Basically one of them was planning an event for a well-known nonprofit here in the States, planning it in Ghana. That was one of the first things I did. And sometimes you need to just do one thing to make you realize what you're capable of. And so for me, that was my thing. I planned a launch event for a nonprofit in Ghana, only being in Ghana for 2 months, like 2 months, I think, not really knowing anybody and knowing how Accra works. But like someone said they think I could do it. And I'm like, if that's all I need, you believe that I could do it?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So, and that's powerful. I think that we should definitely communicate. We believe in people because if we really do, because sometimes all people need. So I pulled off the launch event. It was a Women's Day event, and doing that and being able to see myself bring women together, bring community together, tap into women entrepreneurs, and have a wellness day event and get the feedback of people being like, "This is exactly what I needed,"
Mm-hmm.
and having that impact really. For me, allowed me to see myself as that convener, that event planner, all those things that I love, um, and really sparked the rest of the year. And the rest of the year, I was able to also got certified in yoga as a yoga instructor.
Yes, you did.
I did. And for me, that was never something I really like focused on. It was never really a goal of mine. I think it was also something in my heart of wanting to see representation, wanting to see women, Black women, taking up space um, in the um, in the yoga industry because I knew I like to see myself since I was a kid. Whatever it is I'm doing, I'm trying to see myself. So I knew that I was like, maybe one day that's something I can do. But then when the opportunity presented itself, I jumped at it in Ghana to study. And Bliss Yoga Accra is a great school with Nana and some great instructors. And it was cool to do it in the motherland, to study
Yeah.
it. And so that was cool. And I think that all circled that brought everything together because the yoga and then my desire to create spaces of liberation mentally for Black people and conversations and um, community of where we're connecting and where we're getting liberated together. Yoga really tied that all together, and so I was able to start donation-based yoga every Saturday at the beach, and which people love. It was something I was doing personally, um, and I was like, and I opened it up to everybody, to other people, and that's really how I see things. Of like, is this something I want? Is something I need? And then does it work for me? Then somebody else must need it and want it, And that's how I build things. And I was able to do that. I was able to partner and do a retreat, which was focused on rest and digging into people. I did it with Alma the Goddess, a wellness sanctuary in Accra, and we made good partners. We were able to really build off of each other and complement each other to where we were able to open up space and have people talk about their ideas of rest and kind of challenging our thought processes about our work, our thought processes, about who we are. And like I said, what makes us worthy. So we're able to do yoga, we're able to have discussions, and that really opened up like, oh, like I can create these spaces because I felt like I had to go and maybe get some kind of new training to create these spaces, but I can have the conversations. I can, bring the people together. Like I'm capable of doing that now. Um, and then I was able to end the year with my own personal retreat, which was Liberate and Retreat, which was something that I really had really desired to do maybe since 2020 when I was going through a lot of mental health issues and knowing that I really just wanted to get away, and then talking to other Black women and knowing that they would want to get away. They had moments of where they just wanted to get away too. And so I knew that I wanted to create something one day for that. And it came in the form of a retreat this past year in Ghana, which I want to do every year. But we're able to bring women together in Akasamba, which is beautiful. It was a beautiful experience. We're able to do self-discovery, liberation activities, do yoga, have food, chill out, on the water. It was a great time. So
I love it.
yeah, and that was my birthday weekend, and so I was super grateful to be
And
able to
this was
do
the
that.
first birthday you ever had where people actually threw an event for you, right?
Yeah, the birthday was, so I had the birthday weekend was the weekend I did the Liberate Retreat, which I decided, because I usually go on trips every year. And so I decided I would do and replace my personal birthday trips with the retreat. And so I would do the retreats um every year. I'm gonna do that around this time, whether it's in Ghana, whether, maybe I move around, but um yeah, and then next day, or my birthday was 29th, and then my friends threw me a big birthday party. It was so sweet. It was hard to leave Ghana on that note because I just felt so loved, and I was like,
Yeah.
why would I leave this love? Well, let me
Yeah.
stay and bask in this love.
No, that's real. That's real. But I'm glad that the community actually you experienced that from a community and you never had that before. Because I remember you mentioned it's like you're always the one throwing the birthday parties, but to
Yeah,
actually have a community that you're new to take the
yeah,
initiative, I think that's
yeah. People are like, I can't believe you're able to like have that within 1 year, which I'm grateful for that too. Like, yes, accomplishments, but also like actually building relationships is a an accomplishment. Is something that we should value just as much as accomplishing things. It's like building community, and
Mhm.
so it was good to see people uh come to celebrate me. Like I said, I usually plan the parties, and which I don't mind, but to have friends be like, we'll plan it for you.
Well, you looked beautiful. I seen the pictures. I,
Thank you.
I was like, dang, they're turning up. I turned up for you here.
Thank you. Thank you. It was good. It was a good time. So that's kind of my year in a nutshell. Um, did a lot of personal inner work with that, even though I was studying like the yogas and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, I was able to go inward and like like I said, and realize the inner power, and just really want to build on that in 2023. All the things that I was able to do and saw myself doing, I want to build on in 2023.
That's exactly, I think, what the energy has set up for us. Um, a lot of things were eliminated, especially within my life, but you then
How
have
was
to,
your 2022?
huh?
How was your 2022?
My 2022 is a book, okay? A movie. I don't even know if I can give you the nutshell version, but I know a lot of what you said, it sounded like what I experienced. Tulsa isn't for everybody, like you said, Ghana's not for everybody, Tulsa isn't for everybody. And
Mhm.
so owning a gallery in Tulsa, I experienced a lot of different people, personalities, events. And so I'm truly grateful for that. It has its ups and downs, but I think for the most part, I learned a lot about myself. Um, and I can say before I left Tulsa, I got a lot of good feedback from everyone in the community that I guess benefited from something from the gallery. So it kind of validated my being there for me.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, at least I poured into people the best way I could, whether it was through art, hosting events, just
Yeah.
having a space where people can be them, and it's just all gravy. So
What was it like owning after being a Black woman-owned gallery owner? Tell me about that experience, and like you just kind of named what that allowed you to do and what you were able to provide for people, but what was it like? Like,
I would say the highlight was that being able to have a space, because realistically, unless you're in like maybe a place like New York or something, a gallery just ends up being a glorified event space, or of you know what I mean, because not everyone is coming in and buying art every day, so you have to be creative. And so having that space, I was allowed to A, be creative, but B, collaborate with other creatives in the city, so they utilized the space. And we had book club, we had I'm not tax, there's a credit courses. We did so many different things in the gallery, so that was really the best part. But being on Black Wall Street as a descendant as well had its own other experience, because people would walk into the gallery but they're on Black Wall Street to learn the history. So a lot of the times my conversations weren't about art. It was about history. And so that was a different experience. But all in all, I mean, I wouldn't take back anything. I think it was great. I probably won't open another physical gallery, but I do love being able to collaborate with artists and getting them paid. So, you know, I've continued to do everything online, but
yeah.
Tulsa was an experience. And it actually, at the end of the day, felt like a mission trip. It did. It really did.
Wait, being in Tulsa as the gallery owner, it felt like a mission. Who were you saving? Who were you proselytizing? Like,
oh, the minds, you know, the mentality in a small town, especially when you think about the history of Tulsa and the oppression, I guess, that people have experienced, the lack of knowledge on their own history. So there's just a lot of mindsets that just blew my mind, you know? And so a lot of the events that we did have, I wanted those little Easter eggs to be in there. Like, dude, you don't have to think like this. You don't have to have the crab in the barrel mentality, you know? So it was really about just trying to empower people. I'm not the best at, you know, what it looks like when it comes to being a community leader or whatever, but I did want to take that opportunity that in that position I was in to be like, look, y'all, there's better. You know, you could think better, you could do better, you are better, you know? So we had a lot of those conversations. So it felt like a mission trip because a lot of the times it's very low vibrational in Tulsa. And so I found myself like having to go against the norm. And the norm, a lot of the time, is self-sabotaging, in my opinion.
Yeah. Wow.
But it was a lot. Like I said, my 2022 was a book. It was a movie, and I will be writing it because, you know, a lot of you might have known, but I was basically asked to leave. I can't technically say it was an eviction, but it all had a lot to do with a chicken wing competition. It was the craziest experience, but that's kind of what happens when Black Wall Street is no longer being ran by Black people. You know, we have others that are coming from outside the community dictating how we should and should not move in our historic area. But that just sets the tone for Tulsa in general, because everything is dictated by these white families that really don't give a damn about North Tulsa and paint this picture that isn't true. So I love Tulsa and I want the best for it, but I'm so glad I am no longer there.
Yeah, I feel you. That used to be my reality, but now I'm here. But no, I think that so something like, you know, a chicken wing competition, or I mean, I don't know if you want to expound on that, but could seem threatening or doesn't make sense to somebody culturally, but if it was us running it, it wouldn't even be a thought, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and it's funny, it wasn't a gallery event. I knew the gentleman, but essentially I was contacted in the morning before the gallery opened about that gentleman blocking off sidewalks. He just did a lot that technically you're not supposed to do. There's certain steps, you got to go get permits. And he didn't do that. And so because I was one of the few businesses open on a Sunday on Black Wall Street, my landlord called me and basically was like, you need to have that guy shut down that event. And I'm like, dude, that's not my event. You need to do that. And because I didn't do that, essentially, he was like, oh, well, you know what? You need to be out in 8 days, which was Juneteenth.
I thought you had planned it alongside.
It wasn't my event. It was not my event at all. I didn't even get a piece of chicken. I literally have video footage of, it was a block party. So it took place on Greenwood. But when you walked into the gallery, there was nobody in the gallery because I was open for regular business. So it was.
Was he just lumping all Black people together though? He was like, this is your stuff, basically.
Absolutely. That's exactly what happened.
Go and wrangle in your people, like, be head Negro in charge.
Yes, exactly. I was supposed to be Black security that day. And I was supposed to do what technically his security should have done. You know, if they were blocking sidewalks, and I understand as a business owner, something happens, it's a liability on you because it's on your property. But that's not my responsibility. I pay for this space. What y'all got going on outside has nothing to do with me.
Wow. And that resulted in you being evicted because you didn't go.
Yeah, he wanted the event shut down. And I told him, it's not my event. I'm not shutting it down. But then I did voluntarily tell him, I said, look, this guy is a friend of mine. This event is supposed to be taking place outside. And I said, the only involvement I have, him and a few of the judges, like Miss Billy Parker, are coming in and they're going to get out the heat and deliberate. So because I opened my space to my friend, that was my landlord saying, oh, thank you for validating or confirming rather that you sublet, which there was no contract, there was no anything. He said, thank you for letting me know you sublet your space. You got to be out in 8 days, which was, like I said, 8 days was Juneteenth.
You got the word to move out in 8 days.
Yep.
So one week you're running a gallery, everything's normal, that happens, and then everything changes to where you have to be moved out 8 days. There was no deliberation.
Oh, no, none at all. Girl, I got that message before I even opened the gallery that day. Just because I was a strong Black woman that was not going to do the work that I know he wanted me to do. That was all he needed to break my lease. And it's still to this day, that space is empty. So it was all a personal, a poor decision business-wise, but it was all a personal decision on him.
Do you think, was there anything in the before that was he looking for a reason?
I'm assuming so, because that happened too fast. It happened way too fast. When I first even approached him before all of this, when I was getting that space, he basically made me sign a 3-year lease. So I signed a 3-year lease. So the gallery was supposed to be there for 3 years. So there was no, I was never late on rent. I never dealt with this guy, right? But I had so many things going on in my mind after that situation. I'm like, did he want the space? Did he have, has he promised it to someone? Because I couldn't find out where his angle was. But doing all this, soul searching and healing, I'm realizing God has bigger things for me. And I had to get off of that sinking ship.
Yeah.
It's a sinking ship. There's a lot of great businesses that are no longer open on Black Wall Street because of the politics.
Yeah. How did that impact you personally? I think people see the things and maybe you talking about it on social media, but like when it's just Queen, how did that impact you personally?
It impacted me a lot because when it originally happened, though, people proactively created these petitions. There was like 1,000 signatures on the petitions, but I felt so alone at the same time. Though, people are putting their signatures, y'all are still going to this man's restaurant. You're still patronizing. He's still getting rich off of the community that he told us also, backstory, the day after he said I needed to leave, I asked, could I meet with you and bring the event coordinator there, the judges, so they can basically speak on my behalf. And we all came to his restaurant, which was next door to the gallery. And he told a room full of Black people, y'all would not have Black Wall Street if it wasn't for me. This is a Middle Eastern man who bought the land from my family. He told us, you would not have a Black Wall Street if it wasn't for me. So it made me feel like, damn, I'm screwed. Regardless of my history here, my family history, legacy, because he has the ability to do what he did, he could, and he did. So I felt a lot alone. At one point, I literally thought I was going to get hundreds of Black people to come down there, especially ones that made money in the gallery. Come down there. I thought we was going to stage sit-ins. I thought people were going to put the pressure to him, right? But then I was getting phone calls from people that knew him. Like, well, we heard his side of the story and he didn't tell us that side. So it's like, so this is, y'all just gonna take his word and then that's it. I really felt alone, honestly, but I also realized this is my life. This is my path. And it's really about how I respond to things, and it's not, I can't put the blame on anybody but myself, and when it comes to what I do forward. So yeah, I mean, it was a lot emotionally, mentally.
Yeah, I would say what you blame. I wouldn't say don't take any blame, but like you said, at the end of it, it's like I'm responsible for how I respond.
Yes.
I'm responsible for how I move forward and what I do with this. So
Exactly.
you said, you know, doing some introspection, and obviously there's more for you besides being on Greenwood. You know,
Yeah.
which, which I'm sure was a great, also outside of that was a great time in your life too, and lots of lesson learned, and like, definitely probably added to who you are as a person and professionally. Can you share 2023, like moving forward, like what are some things in store? What do you want to do? Like what is in the works?
Oh man, it's bigger. This is why I'm like, at the end of the day, it's a blessing, because it's made me be a lot more intentional. So I have revamped my website. I am able to collaborate with a lot more artists going forward. So like, we just sold 2 paintings 2 weeks ago on the gallery page for a good amount of money, more than I ever thought I could sell on the website. It's art. So you would expect people wanted to see it in real life. So while creating this website, I'm like, dude, I'm wasting my time. No one's going to buy anything. And then lo and behold, a gentleman buys 2 pieces of art, which is well over $1,000. And so I was like, wow. So this is what I can continue. So I'm still selling art for artists of color, making sure that they get the validation they deserve. But I'm a lot more fluid now. I'm not restricted to Black Wall Street. So I'm able to do a pop-up in Seattle or do a pop-up in Dallas, and then just create a bigger following than I would have if I would have just been on Black Wall Street. And creating a bigger following allows for more sales for these artists. So you have, like a Ori or an Angela Coley, who, if I'm out there being able to put, my boots in the ground and get their name out there, next time I have their artwork, I should be able to sell it for 5 times more, because now I'm doing the network, the marketing for them. So that's 2023. It's really still art, but it's more intentional now, as opposed to having to be creative in this glorified venue,
Yeah, I got you.
But that's it. And then obviously family time. I'm back home in Dallas, so I get to spend a lot more time with family. I think I have a lot more mental support, emotional support than I did in Tulsa. Because low-key in Tulsa, I was by myself. Like, those who knew my story, I was there. My cousin was there. Stuff happened. I ended up being on an island by myself, taking what I had and creating something out of it. But now I'm back home, and now I really get to have that support. So if something was to happen, I will get those hundreds of people ready to sit in, ready to fight for whatever it is, because they really know, like, my heart is in it. A lot of the people in Tulsa didn't know who I was, so they wasn't really, they're like, I really feel like that. It's like, I didn't go to Booker T with you. You're not my friend. I got a lot of that, but
your family history runs deep in Tulsa.
Oh, super deep, which is why I'm still like, just.
Yeah, you said he brought, not to go back, but like, I don't want to go back to that, but like your family, that land was purchased from your family.
Yeah. So the Oklahoma Eagle has now been dwarfed by the new Greenwood Rising Museum, but all that land right there, that was my family land. But over time, people weren't really patronizing Black Wall Street. It was a ghost town at some point. And so, yeah, I don't think they were really thinking long-term, like we should keep this in the family. It was more like, hey, this isn't being utilized. We need some money. And my landlord purchased it. And so it's just so ironic to be evicted from land that technically should have been mine anyway, but that's another conversation.
Yeah, definitely.
Or somebody in my family, not mine, but
yeah,
not him, not his.
Right. Yeah, it's a sad reality.
Oh yeah, I was sick. I ain't gonna lie. When it happened, because I had put my whole life into that gallery. And so even right now, trying to do my taxes for this year, I have to take it as a loss, but now it's it's just so much. It was 60 grand invested. And I lasted a year out of the 3 that I was supposed to have. So
Gotcha. But you shall recover. I'm excited about your website. And one of the things that we did in 2022 was start this podcast as
yes,
well.
we did.
Which is, I'm gonna say, I've always had podcast dreams, and so to be able to start in 2022, I think it's a learning experience for us. Like, I'm like laying down. I always think about like if we were to do this podcast like without a camera, how would I like show up? Like as far as like would I be like something about being on camera? I think you're a visual and I'm like listening.
Yeah.
On camera is weird. But anyways, I'm not on camera, I'm talking to Queen.
But, yeah, this is a regular conversation. We just so happen to have millions of followers. No, I'm speaking this into existence.
But I think that for me it was like something that I always wanted to do. And then we started. I know for we've had kind of like challenges, like I think we're still trying to like find our voice, find what kind of output, what kind of impacts we want to have, and like mesh our two kind of individual like voices together. I think. How has that experience been for you?
It's been good. It's been something that I've always wanted to do too, a podcast, but I just didn't know how to do it, who to do it with. And then we kind of just learned with each other. But what we did on New Year's, and just to give y'all a little backstory or whoever's out there, we had an event, Ray and I. Ray actually was in Dallas. We wanted to meet up. And I was like, Ray, let's do a vision board party because I'm extra. And she was like, okay, what's all involved? And after I thought about it, because I've done them before, I'm like, you know what? It's a lot. I don't want to do it anymore. She was like, no, we can still do it. And fast forward, we ended up doing it online. Ray taught yoga, and I did a more foundational vision board planning process. We had 15 people on the call. What we did, that community we created, I'm like, yo, this is why we're doing this. I really felt that. So every time we meet up, we're getting something new and we're adding it to the podcast. And I feel like this is what's
we did it within a week. And I think I'm gonna say that, like, we literally like talked about that. I was on the way back leaving Texas. And I was like, oh, I won't be there in person for us to do anything in person, but let's figure out how we can still do something. And like I said to you, and like I said earlier, is that even if it's just me and you, it's still gonna be a great time. And so I think that starting something, doing something that you need, or that you and your friend need, or you and your business partner need, or what desires to do, then somebody else is going to be attracted to. And so I was grateful that we were able to create that space. Monday we talked about it, and by Thursday we put it out.
Yeah.
Saturday or Sunday we were on a call with that amount of people from Ghana to Tulsa to Dallas and Houston. I was super grateful. I think it was just a learning experience and kind of a sign of what we can create when we're able to be intentional. When we can be intentional. For me, it was like a sign of like, what can we create when we really plan something out and be intentional.
So did it come out better, or than you expected, or did you have expectations?
I don't know. I don't think I had expectations, but I didn't have expectations, but it definitely came out great.
Yeah.
So I don't think I had expectations around like what it could look like, just because when we just moved so fast, I didn't even know what to expect and what it to look like. And I think that but I also know that the power of like virtual things, and like I've been a part of virtual spaces, and so um I was like, personally, it's always something I wanted to do is like, how can you build community virtually? And so to be able to partner with you and give that a try, um, was I was super grateful for the opportunity. So
Same.
definitely looking forward to, whatever we can do in the future. That was my first yoga session online with a group
Really?
of people. Yeah, with a group of people. And so that was I'm about to, I haven't watched the YouTube, but I'm gonna go back and watch it just so I can see what that was like. Because I'm definitely considering like doing that, offering like that on a weekly basis, at sometime in the future, is doing a virtual yoga sessions. And so I was grateful for Black Around the World for that platform to be able to do that on with
Yeah.
our network of people. Hmm.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. We had fun.
Hmm.
Even our little mimosa session.
Yeah. What was it like for you to do the your vision setting?
It was new, it was different. I think I had my little notes that I had written up the day before and the slideshow we had created. So I felt like I was prepared in that sense,
Hmm.
but I did not anticipate drinking as much as I did the night before. So
Okay.
to be quite honest with you, when I woke up that next morning, I was nervous. I was like, yo, I don't even have the energy. I'm like spinning, not, it's New Year's Eve events, but I felt like that event is what I needed to recover. The stretching, the yoga, the Pedialyte, the community,
Yeah.
all of that. I'm like, this is what I need. And I felt so good after that call. I
Hmm.
was like, dude, let's do this. Let's run this back.
Yeah. That's cool. We'll definitely have to think of some ways to create those spaces in the future.
Yeah, I mean, we could do it in person as well.
Hmm. Yeah. You said something on the call. You said two things I want to ask you about. I guess I want to get a better understanding of how you feel. You did a great job, one, in leading that vision setting and like setting, like letting people know, making it personal. Like these are the things I did, so that they can get an idea of how to do it. Cause like one, vision setting, vision boards, like you said, is usually something that's done in person, but to
Mhm.
find a way to get online and create that space so that people could, start the process. Because we didn't say this is where the process starts and ends. It's like this 30-minute session is to jumpstart you for your year, and ideally, we are taking what we started and building on it outside of the call. And so I think you did a phenomenal job at just kind of setting people up, for the year and getting people excited about it. Some people were texting me like, "Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for, you
Yeah.
know, creating that space." I got emails and texts. I don't know about you, but people really,
Oh yeah.
grateful for
Great responses.
the time.
We got to send them to Yelp.
Put
Yelp
them on
reviews.
our Google review. Um,
But what was your question?
you said we were talking about scarcity mindset.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. And so I want to hear your thoughts on that because you said that Black people have um, a scarcity mindset. Tell me what makes you say that, and why do you think that is?
Well, if you look at our history in this country, we basically we had the scraps of things. We had, not we made do with what we had. So when you're talking about penny pension, that's just kind of how we're working our way to wealth now, but it wasn't designed that way originally. So
Hmm.
I think we have to start shifting our mindset to realize we're no longer in that position. We have the ability to shoot to take over the world low key, but you got to have it in your mind. So, you know, when someone has, let's say, $100 and they are offered an opportunity that might be 50, they're probably not going to be quick to jump onto it because they want to hold on to that 100. That's a scarcity mindset, because if this $50 opportunity can double or triple your money, you take it. But a lot of us, we hold on to things because we haven't had things. You know, I know people who grew up with no toys and no clothes. And so when they started making money, now they just buy it all the time. You know, you got a closet full of clothes and stuff like that. And it's because they grew up with, you know, one experience. So I just think when it comes to Black people in general, we have the ability, or we should start kind of changing our mindset to know, like, yo, we're not in that circumstance anymore.
Yeah.
Like, we need to start investing with each other.
Yeah.
To get it back.
Yeah. So the context here is basically that history of that shared history of not having things, being impoverished, being the inequities that resulted in us not having much, the injustice of not having much, and that leading to us like holding on to things and not our bit. So I think I definitely agree with that. You know, I definitely have moved in those ways and witnessed like family members moving that way. And that kind of would then thinking about what does a scarcity mindset look like when it looks like how that impacts like your community and your family if you're operating in a scarcity mindset and holding on to things or not sharing things or you know, or even then feeling like you have to lowball people, or you know, kind of that treads over into like survival mode and things like that. But I also think on the flip side that what, like thinking about that little that we did have and what Black people were able to create with the little. And so it's like on the one side, yeah, I think both things can be true, that we've had scarcity mindsets, but also like thinking about historical ways Black people have took little and made it out of something. You know, I think about like the scrap, you said scraps. So thinking about like the scraps, the food, we literally were given scraps of food, and just how we were able to take the scraps of food and make magic cuisines out of like scraps that were given to us, like really to me is amazing. And you were talking about something like, you know, Black Wall Street and like, you know, taking little and then being able to still envision past that. Like yes, I think there's a lot of ways that we still can build and realize our inner power, but I think that I still am amazed with the things that Black people were able to do with such little that, you know, we have been given, you know. And even when there's ways of there's policies and there's people in power that still, you know, coming in and trying to, you know, step on your neck and keep you down, even in your situation, we're still able to like, we still be getting back up and getting back in the ring and creating magic. Like Black people are so magical. And so I think that I definitely have seen both, and have seen both kind of coexist at the same time, you know. So yeah, I just want to hear your thoughts on that.
Now it's just evolving. We have always been resilient and creative. You know, when you think about Negro spirituals in slave braids, where they used to say that we would braid roadmaps of freedom, you know, we always were creative, but now we don't really have to do that anymore. we can still be creative, but now it's like, let's work together because we all have more access than we ever had before. Abundance mindset.
Abundance, which is definitely a big part of my 2023 too. It's like I'm trying to think an abundance mindset responsibly. I don't want to be like I'm living an abundance mindset. Let me spend. But I think that for me, is abundance mindset is how you see the possibilities, like how you see, because like if you're operating that abundance mindset, there's enough for everybody. Exactly. So how can we make sure everybody wins, you know?
Exactly. Like, prime example, when you decided we should do a raffle on our event, our Zoom call, I immediately went into this scarcity mindset, like, I don't have anything to give. I have nothing for the people.
You said I have nothing to give. I'm like, I'm sure, Queen, you have something to give.
I know, but I automatically thought, like, A, what I had wasn't good enough, or B, like I said, I have so many wristbands, but I had just automatically went into this scarcity mindset. But then after we got off the call, I'm like, dude, Queen, you got plenty to give. Actually, you got these books that you just ordered. Give someone this book, because they can, it's really about how you really think about what you have and how do you.
Definitely. Speaking of, are you reading that book now?
I
About
am.
what you're reading.
I
don't know if you're ready to talk about that. I want to talk about what you're reading at the moment.
Yes. So we gave away the book as a raffle, as well as a free session with Ray, a yoga session. But this book has been near to dear to me. I told you about Julian Gordon once before, but this was before I got the book.
The Instagram.
Yeah, he's
okay.
the Instagram guy. He's really big into real estate. But I've been plugging into his live calls, and he's been reading his book, which ultimately, led to me buying it. But he speaks about mindset. Obviously, he makes a lot of money in real estate, but he's like, look, you can have these opportunities presented to you, but if your mind isn't right, you're not necessarily going to go as far as someone who does have the mindset to keep it going. So he talks about spirituality. The book is called Rich and Righteous.
Okay.
And there's like another blurb under it, but I can never remember it. But it's Rich and Righteous, the money manifesting secret, something like that. But it's really all about how abundance is our birthright, and how we basically have everything we need to create whatever we want. It's just how you're looking at things. He talks about money and how if you have a savings account for, rainy days or whatever, that's fine. He said, but if you exceed past what you want for your savings account just to hoard all your money, it's kind of a scarcity mindset. You should be taking that money and reinvesting it and making it work for you. So he really is talking about how millionaires view money and, the mindsets that it takes to create this wealth.
Yeah.
But it's really spiritual based, which is why I love the book.
It's called Spiritual Secrets to Mastering Money.
Yes.
Manifestation and your mind. So he talks about a little manifestation in there. What have you got any nuggets on manifestation from the book? Yeah, from him.
So fun fact, yes, I have. And what I like about him, the book is $100, but you get 5 copies, because within manifesting, you get 5 copies, because within the book, he's teaching you, in order to receive, you have to give. It's a law, right? There is this, it's a sequence, it's an order. So like I said, at that one point, I thought I didn't have anything to give. But when you think about the abundance mindset, I have a book to give. So he wants you to really think about, you have a lot to offer. And so when you take in consideration everything you have to offer, then that's when you start to receive. And so he wants you to put yourself in this state of giving. And so that's why you get 5 copies. And I think it's also to justify the amount of the book. But realistically, I love the idea of having something to give and to pour into people that they might get something out of, Okay. But yeah, manifesting, it's really about just being intentional.
$100. Woo.
Yeah, it was $100. I ain't gonna lie to you. So far, I'm only halfway through the book, and definitely the best $100 I've ever gotten. And if I wanted to sell those copies for $50, I mean, let's just saying, I could make money back. Yeah. But I'm not. I'm giving them away because I want to pour into people knowledge that he has in that book.
Cool.
But what are you reading? Are you reading anything right now?
I am. So I don't know if you realize that I've been talking about love last year. I was talking about it a lot lately, as far as like how I feel like there's power and love amongst like that's the answer that we're missing as Black people. Sometimes it's like in these like communal spaces, and historically, um, I don't want to say we're missing it, because there's great examples of love amongst Black people historically, but um, with you know with my goals around, like, creating these liberation spaces, ideally I want, what I envision is when we are more liberated, when we are, creating, becoming more free, that allows us to be more loving toward each other. When we're like letting go, you know, toxic ways of thinking, when we're letting go these systems that we brought into, sometimes, a lot of times, the scarcity mentality comes from the systems that we, had to work in and school in and things like that. Um, when we're freeing ourselves of those mindsets, that there's more that creates more room for love. And then when more love is brought into our lives, what are we able to accomplish? How are we able to uplift somebody else? How we're able to, build together and be there for each other in meaningful ways. So, the other day I saw somebody was like saying that they were reading All About Love by Bell Hooks, and
Yes.
which
Good book.
yeah, in which I've heard it, and it was like kind of, filed it in the back, like I'll read it one day. But then when I saw that, it was like my inspiration. So like I need to read it. So I kind of been like asking people, do you have it? Um, but recently came across the online copy, and
Yep.
I'm grateful to be reading it right now. And I've only read the intro and preface. And usually, I'm not gonna lie, I be skipping over intros and prefaces when it comes to, reading books. Um, and so, but her intros and prefaces like pretty hardy. Like some of the things so far as the concept she's talking about, one, love as a practice. And so I wish I appreciated being a yoga instructor and knowing that like yoga is a practice. I told you that on the call after we, did the intentionally 2023. Everything is a practice, um, just showing up and doing the thing that you want to do. And so like, so when I hear love as a practice, I hear, what does love look like in practical ways on a daily basis? What choices are you making on a daily basis? How are you interacting with people that sends a message that you love them?
Yes.
So I really appreciate that aspect of what she's saying. It's like we think of love as this unattainable thing. I've had conversations with people about like, what does it mean to be, what does love mean, and what does it look like? But if we think about it as a practice, like you can think of a lot of things of like how um how to practice love. And so I'm looking forward to what she has to say. But some of the things that so I take notes every time I read a book. Like I think it's kind of like highlighting in the Bible, but like I always take notes. And so some of the things I want to, I'm probably late on the game. You've read this book though?
Yeah, that was our first book club book when I had the gallery in Tulsa. So, and one of the reasons why we decided to do it, because they do have that free version online. So we didn't want people to have to go out and buy books. So that book is great.
Yeah, so that's a cool communal book to read for y'all to
Yes.
have that book
Girl,
club.
when I tell you, we were in tears some sessions.
Really?
Oh, it was powerful. It was powerful.
Oh man, I would have loved to have been a part of that book club. Because when you say you had a book club and I'm reading this book, I'm like, I wonder if they read. I wonder if they read this.
Yes.
And so, um, I love that. Um, one of the things she says is, um, in the realm of the political, among the religious, in our families, in our romantic lives, we see little indication that love informs decisions, strengthens our understanding of community, or keep us together.
this bleak picture in no way alters the nature of our longing. We still hope that love will prevail. We still believe in love's promise.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like kind of her message of like, there's so many things that tell us love doesn't exist, but we still hold belief that it can be our reality.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to reading.
It's a good book. You're gonna love it.
Yeah, some things we pick up and it's not really our time to read it. But like just the intro and preface, like the way I'm reading it and my attention span. Because sometimes I be thinking my attention span, but sometimes it's just not your time to read a book.
Exactly.
But like how I'm reading this, I'm like, oh, it's my time to read this book. I filed it in the back saying I'm gonna get to it one day, and I finally got to it. And I think that the season that I'm in is the time for me to read this book.
I need to reread it. I will definitely reread it, and maybe we can discuss it on some shows.
Yeah,
it's a really good book. I agree with a lot of what she said. Yesterday, I actually had an astrology reading, and she spoke about love, and she was like, the first love that you need to work on is self-love, because if you don't work on the self-love, you don't know how to love anybody else. You know, you're going to be putting that energy into the wrong. Yeah. So shout out to bell hooks.
Yeah. Which astrology, which we were supposed to talk about Sagittarius. Did you have
we were.
Those Sagittarius. I don't know if you want to end it with the Sagittarius talk or what. But
we can't. I do want to say this though, because God works in mysterious ways. While you were talking, my dad handed me a package. So I opened it up and I forgot to mention this. Julian Gordon's book, it also comes with a workbook. So I just got my workbook in the mail. It ships separately than the books. But at each chapter, he actually breaks it down so where you can start practicing things. So like week 1, money, and then what's this? Week 2, how to ask. So I wanted to put that in there. It's not just, the book is $100, but you get the Rich and Righteous Rituals book and the audio version. And I'm not getting paid to say none of this. I really do like this guy's book. I mess with him. So I definitely wanted to say that. But
you get an audio book.
You get the audio, 5 copies, and the the Rituals book. You can't beat it. You cannot beat it.
Nugget. And when you read it, I'm gonna remind you of the nuggets I read all about love. Send me a voice note every now and again that you wanna.
Absolutely, I will. You know what? Speaking of voice notes, on Facebook, you know how they have the new, Instagram, where they have the little section where you can put notes. I don't know if you've been, but when you go to the
status update,
it's kind of like a status update. Yeah, but you write like words. It's very small, but when you go to the inbox, you'll see it. But a lot of the things that I've been posting lately have been coming from his books, these little nuggets.
I did see that. You said something about mindset. You don't have a money problem, you have a mindset problem. I did see that.
Exactly. Yep, that was Julian's quote. I didn't add that, but
when I read stuff like that, I'm like, why are you screaming at me? Right though. It's like this is
I feel attacked.
It's like this is really loud right now. But yeah.
I love it. Yeah, we got to be loud. But speaking of being loud, Sagittarius, first of all, not all Sagittarius are loud. I might just be the only one. But we're in Capricorn season now, but I think it is super dope that we are both Sagittarius, but totally different. Like you mentioned, you're more an audible person. I'm super visual. And yet we balance each other out so great when it comes to the podcast. Like you said, you take notes. I'm like, oh, notes, God. But it's like, it's so perfect. And it's just so weird because, I've done so many things as far as research is concerned on Sagittarius. And so to be able to have a podcast with a Sagittarius that's completely different, but yet the same, I think it really is kind of, obviously, when you think about planetary charts, though, you got your moon sign. I don't know if you know any of this, but
tell me, like, this is what I want, because I feel like last year, a lot of people I've talked to, they just seemed like they were scholars in astrology, and they'd be like, oh, "What's your sign?" And they would just talk to me in astrology. I feel like a little behind, a little left out. They would talk to me about an astrology language. They'd be like, oh girl, he's a Capricorn. I'm like, I don't even know what that means. And they were like, leave it at that. They're like, you know how they are. I'm like, I don't.
No, I don't.
So give me a little background.
Oh man, first of all, there's so many apps. I'm no guru. Like I said, I went to someone else for my reading yesterday, but I do my research. It's so strange to find a Sagittarius that knows nothing about it, because they say that that's our jam, like astrology and the occult. But what I do know is there's planets and they all affect us. And so the day you were born, these planets had their own placements. And based off those placements, it makes up who you are. So you have your sun sign, which most people know is the day they were born. But then there's your moon, where the moon was placed when you were born, actually governs your emotions. You have your Mercury, which governs your speech and how you communicate. So I have Capricorn in my Mercury. So I speak like a Capricorn when it comes to my directness, but my also like my bossness, if you will. I don't know.
Wait, hold on. Let me try to understand. So
Yes.
they're talking about, so all this is where the planets were when you were born. But then you
Yes.
say you have a Capricorn in your Mercury because Mercury was placed. Because people be like, I'm Sagittarius rising and I'm like Capricorn lowering or something like that.
I love it. All cute.
What does that mean? Like, I'm trying to understand because I'm tracking where the planet was when you were born, but then what does it mean to have a Capricorn in your Mercury?
Ooh, you're gonna start asking me questions. I don't know. But look, I can say Capricorn was in Mercury, so meaning it was in its energy. Okay. Now, Capricorn is governed, all these different signs have planets that govern them. So at that moment in time, Capricorn, like, have you ever heard of someone say Mercury is in retrograde? Well, yeah, so these planets do things. The Earth is spinning and all these other planets are moving as well. Things are changing. And as it's changing, different energy is changing along with it. So Capricorn energy was in Mercury when I was born. So that means all the characteristics that are synonymous with a Capricorn fall under my Mercury, which governs the way I speak, the way I present, not myself, but the way I present things. So I don't know if you hear that yelling. I think the Cowboys are playing, but yeah, so each planet has its own energy. It's really, I recommend apps like CoStar. Another one is like astrology something. But once you plug in where you were born and the time you were born, it gives you those placements.
Yeah, which I've done that. I definitely need to do a little more digging too, just to understand it. Because I remember also I said something about I have an obsession with the moon, and then you said something like, "Of course you do," because I don't think it had anything to sign. I don't know if it had to do something. What did it have to do with, like, people have an obsession with the moon?
Black diaspora. I was taking this class. I was learning how to read cards, cartomancy. And my teacher told us that the Black diaspora is governed by the moon. Period. Okay, I can't explain a lot of that, but I resonated with it. And so I'm like, now she probably did go into detail, but I can't remember. I just kind of like, I pick and choose the things that really stick in here. But I do remember when you said, I'm obsessed with the moon. I'm like, yeah, because you're Black. But then I couldn't explain it.
Gotcha. I have to look.
But yeah, I'm sure it's probably something that's Googleable.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'll have to look into it.
But I did work for a watch company several years ago, and we had this watch called the Planetary Watch. It was like a $500,000 watch, but the watch you can customize. So wherever someone, let's say, proposed to their wife or whatnot, they would ask for the planetary alignment for that day. So there's a lot of people that are really in tune with the planets and how it affects us. But I just found it to be very interesting that they went as far as putting it on a watch.
Yeah, that's interesting.
You're a different Sag, though. I can say that.
I think frustrates you sometimes because the other day we were talking about numbers. He was like, "You are a weird Sag." So I'm like, "That is enough Sag for you."
I'm like, what kind of Sag are you?
Number, and you're like, "You're not into numbers." I'm like, "Not at all."
Yeah, I love it though.
Cool. I think this is a good, interesting experiment that we're on, and my hopes for Black Around the World 2023 is that you and I can continue like finding our voice and our niche and what we want to put out and what the impact we want to have, and that in doing this podcast, one will continue discovering ourselves personally, discovering our voices personally, and bringing that together to create more impact amongst the people that we're supposed to impact. I think that, and just to work through the growing pains, because we've already had some growing pains, and I think that it's a great example of community, because to me, community is about how do you work through difficult times, and how do you be honest with each other, how do you come to understanding, and also like how do you build with people who think vastly different than you, who are different than you, because oftentimes we're like community. I love Black people, but we only love a certain niche of Black people, a certain type of Black person, a certain type, and we can only build with certain types of people. But I don't think that's love or productive, or for me, that's not what I mean. And like, I love Black people in all shapes and forms and sizes and mentalities. And even when I disagree with them, I still love them, So that's super important to me. So that's why, like, I'm super protective of Black people and sensitive about my people.
Yeah, I love that. I actually watched a commercial the other day. It was an LGBT commercial, and they were speaking about all the violence that has happened towards them. And at the end of the commercial, she said, "We're stronger together." And I'm like, dang, we need a Black commercial like this. Like, we are stronger together, regardless of your age, like you said, sex, anything. Like, we are stronger together. And so it's about being intentional and working with each other for sure.
Yeah.
But I do also maybe want to have my astrologer on one day so she could dive deeper into the astrology life and kind of giving us more information on those planets that I can't really give you. Because I think a lot of people would benefit from that.
That'll be a cool conversation. I know I definitely think that we should continue finding our voice, and we took a step back from guests, but I'm already thinking about two people that I think, like, again, making it personal, that I want to learn from, and that if I can learn from them, somebody else can learn from them. Like, I have my friend Xavier, who works for restorative, I think the org is restorative justice, and they have these conversations around conflict, and I think it'll be cool to have a conversation around how to like resolve conflict amongst community. I think it goes right along with what our intentions are for this podcast. And he has other conversations. He has listened to our podcast and gave an assessment, and definitely is open to being on. So I hope I'm not butchering like what it is that they do. But they have restorative conversations, whether it's personally or communal, and so I would love to have him on here. So the things I'm like looking forward to in 2023.
Come on, brother. Yes, let's do it. I love it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's our what episode is this? It's a wrap.
Episode number 5, I think.
5.
Not including the bonus episode from New Year's. I think this is episode 5.
I'm gonna go watch that. But yep.
This is great though. I love the 2022 recap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I struggled through it a little bit because, to be honest, like mentally, I'm just I've been being challenged lately. So, but I definitely want to show up and have this conversation. So I hope I was able to get some points across. But yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully people kind of get more of a perspective of who we are and where we're coming from as well.
Yeah, definitely.
It's so weird though. You were in Ghana and I was in Tulsa, and yet it sounds like we were experiencing a lot of the same things.
Mhm. Yeah.
Minus the eviction, but anyway.
Yeah.
Well, that was this episode, and we'll be back soon with episode 6.
Yeah. All right. See y'all later.
Love you, Ray. Love y'all. Thank y'all.